Now we'll talk about globalization and criminal justice. So what is globalization? Our markets are interconnected. So just like financial markets are interconnected, environmentally, we have fish and wildlife and plant products being transported all over the world. So an example I gave in the discussion was a bluefin tuna caught off North Carolina could be sold in Japan the next morning. The catfish, the flounder you had for dinner is actually catfish from Vietnam. The guitar at the local guitar shop is actually made with mahogany from South America. So as you see, there's a lot of products that either the products come to the United States and the money is transferred, or the product is sent from the United States to other countries. Some of the cases I've worked on have included lobster from the Caribbean and South America being illegally imported into the United States. Anytime you have a high value commodity, you have the potential for crime, specifically illegal trafficking and fraud. So one of the examples, like the example of the catfish I gave, that is fraudulent, both fraudulent tariffs, basically to get around tariffs that our U.S. catfish farmers had put in place by Congress because of the competition. So to avoid those tariffs, companies in Vietnam will falsely label that fish and it's brought into the United States. Also, some of those fish might be treated with antibiotics that are banned in the United States, so there's a public health concern there as well. And then also, you have financial crimes that are involved. And then the biggest threat now is transnational criminal organizations, because this trade is as lucrative as drugs. So you might have the Russian mob in Russia exporting illegal Russian crab to the United States. You might have Asian gangs importing wildlife products such as ivory or rhino horns into Asia with money flowing through the United States. The U.S., to enforce these crimes, there has to be a nexus to the United States. And in some cases, such as fish out of Africa that is illegally fished, IUU, illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, that money or fish doesn't come to the United States. It goes back and forth from Europe. So we don't necessarily have a way to combat that. But you can see this interrelationship. That's really the heart of the globalization, that the product and the money flows from different places around the world. So as an investigator, this poses many dilemmas. There might be evidence in Europe or in Asia or in South America or Africa, something that proves the violation here in the United States, but it exists someplace else. And how do we get that? Well, one of the things, besides Interpol, which is the International Criminal Police Organization based out of Lyon, France, they have resident agents all throughout the world. So if I needed help, say in Brazil, I could go through my Interpol contact. They would contact the Interpol contact in Brazil, and we could share information. A more formal way to gather evidence is called a Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty, or MLAT. And that's where the U.S. State Department would officially contact, say, Brazil, and request that Brazilian authorities obtain evidence in Brazil and then provide that to us here for prosecution of a violation here. It can be a very lengthy process. However, if you start that process, it tolls or basically suspends the statute of limitations for that violation.